I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
All right, this is the final episode of the spooky season for 2024. And we are once again getting into the Predator franchise. Last year we did the original Predator with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And this year we are getting into the prequel, the most recent Predator movie, Prey.
Yeah, once again, we are gonna have to put the warning here. If you listen with the little ones, this is not the episode for them. Predator is very much an R-rated series, not for the little ones. R-rated movie, R-rated discussion, lots of gore and stuff.
Yeah, come back. I mean, I don't think
2 weeks from now. Yeah, next week's movie also going to be an R-rated discussion. Sorry about that. And a spoiler alert, very political one. But yeah, in 2 weeks we're going to have a nice family-friendly movie for the little ones. So come back then. That will be all fine. But from here on out, anything goes. This is your warning. So there we go. Parental discretion advised.
This is the earliest point in the Predator franchise timeline.
The early 1700s, I think it's like 1719. I don't know if it says, I forget if it says that directly on screen.
It does say 17.
Okay. Yeah.
Because not in a terms, September 1719. So yeah, this is the earliest point that we have seen so far in the Predator timeline. The only Predator movie taking place on Earth, and I have to stress this, the only Predator movie that takes place on Earth that does not take place in the era it was filmed in.
Yeah.
Because we have the original Predator that was filmed in and takes place in the 80s. Predator 2, which takes place in and was filmed in the early 90s. The Alien vs. Predator movies taking place and filmed in the early 2000s. Predators does not take place on Earth, so we don't know when it takes place. And of course, The Predator taking place in the late 2010s, filmed in the late 2010s. So, yeah, this is the only one so far taking place on the planet Earth that does not take place in the era it was filmed in. A lot of controversy with this movie, not for anything that actually matters.
Yeah, once again, we have the fandom menace rearing its ugly little incel head and making a bunch of nonsense about a movie that honestly they hadn't even seen.
Yeah, they knew nothing about it. All they knew was it starred a woman, a indigenous woman, and it took place in the past. That's all they knew, and they decided that it's the worst movie that's ever been filmed. Seriously, if you think that those kinds of movies are the worst movies you've ever seen in your life, watch more movies. I'm being exponentially serious. I am being so serious right now. I don't care if it's like a Marvel movie or anything like that, or Star Wars or anything like that. If you watch a Marvel movie and you say this is the worst movie I've ever seen, watch more movies. If you see a Star Wars movie and you say this is the worst movie I've ever seen, watch more movies. There are worse movies than that. Again, MST3K made their entire existence on movies worse than that.
And honestly, the worst movies I've ever seen are not even the type of movies they would ever do on something like MST3K or Riff Tracks or whatever.
Mm.
Because the worst movies I've ever seen are literally like weird propaganda films and stuff like that. I mean, those things are much worse than any like silly sci-fi nonsense you'll find on MST3K or Riff Tracks or whatever that's just done by like a well-meaning but incompetent director, you know? The thing about this is, yeah, when people found out about this movie, not when people, when those particular type of fandom menace incels found out about this movie, it was like, oh no, it stars a bunch of non-white people. The main character is a non-white woman, and, you know, it takes place in the past, you know, in specifically the Comanche Nation. That's where they got all of their boohoo wah.
Woman versus Predator, Mary Sue.
Yeah, like, you know, where's Arnold? You know, we need big muscle guy to take down Predator. But the thing is that I'm gonna point it out again. I remember people being really stoked about Alien versus Predator. And if I'm remembering correctly, the main character in that one was a black woman.
Well, that was before they were told that was a bad thing.
Yeah. And I'm not saying there weren't people that like grumbled about it, but there wasn't like a vast online movement. And I'm not even saying that it's really vast. Honestly, I hate that we have to keep talking about these chuds because honestly, it's like 100 dudes in basements, you know?
Each with 1,000 alt accounts each.
Yeah, each with like a whole slew of sock puppet accounts. It is just like a small handful of really annoying dudes ruining it for everybody else. So if you're out there listening and you haven't seen this movie and you were like, oh, well, I heard that movie sucked because it got review bombed on some site I read, or like, you know, I watched The Critical Drinker and he said it was awful. Like, one, never watch The Critical Drinker. And two, like, turn this off right now and go to Disney Plus, Hulu, whatever, and just watch it. Like, don't even listen to the rest of this first. Just go and watch it. Come back to us. We're fine. We're patient. We'll wait. You're gonna like it. Like, if you just like the concept of the Predator, you're gonna like this movie.
And this goes back to what we were saying last year about The Predator. The Predator, as a franchise, is a slasher film and follows the rules of a slasher film. Arnold was the final girl.
Yeah. And this just takes it back to what if the final girl was a final girl?
Mm-hmm.
This to me is, I mean, not only is it like crossing the slasher horror genre, you know, but it's an action movie too. And honestly, except for some of the movies, you know, I'm a big fan of the John Wick franchise. And outside of those, this is the best action film I've seen in years. The action in this is just incredible.
It looks beautiful. This is way too good for a direct-to-streaming movie.
And honestly, I think the reason it ended up direct to streaming is because it stars an indigenous woman.
Possibly. I have my own thoughts on it because this is 2022, just a few years back, and we had talked about this before. Prior to selling to Disney, 20th Century Fox had these contracts that would, contracts with different distributors, contracts with theaters, contracts with streaming services, specifically HBO. They have contract deals that would allow their movies, when it's time for them to be on television, they would make their television debut on HBO. Their streaming debut would be on digital cable. If for those of you who still have digital cable, you can just go to the HBO thing and there's the movies they have for the month. The old HBO Go app, and that did extend into what was then HBO Max. So any 20th Century Studios film that got a theatrical release would go streaming on Max. This does not look good for Disney, who has Disney Plus, and at that time had just gotten the majority ownership of Hulu. So my conspiracy theory, if you want to go into that, was that it went directly to streaming so Disney could have 100% of the streaming rights. I think my conspiracy theory and your idea is there's something in the middle right there.
Yeah, it's probably some combo of those.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw it, I was like, oh man, because I watched this like within probably 48 hours of it being released. Because I was hyped for this movie. Not only am I a Predator fan, but I'm just a fan of like, hey, this is a really kick-ass action film starring a kick-ass woman. And also, I'm a fan of Amber Midthunder because she's been in stuff I've liked before. So I was like, oh, cool, let's see what she can do with this, But, like, getting back to the John Wick comparison, I will tell you, if you're worried about watching this movie, like, if you start the movie and you're like, oh no, there is a dog in this first scene, I will give you the spoiler up front that the dog survives the movie. Like, you don't have to go to, like, does the dog die or anything. Like, I'm gonna tell you the dog lives. You're okay. This is not John Wick in that sense.
The dog has a couple of really cool kick-ass scenes, honestly.
Oh yeah, honestly, this movie stars like two amazing female protagonists. One is Amber Midthunder, and the other is the dog. Real name Coco, but plays Sari in the movie. I gotta talk about this dog for a second because I love this dog. The dog was a rescue dog. This was not a trained dog. When the movie came out, I was like, oh my goodness, it's such a cute dog. And there were a bunch of articles about, like, how they got the dog. Because they found the dog in a shelter in Atlanta. And so she was a rescue dog from a shelter. Adopt, everybody. It's a good idea. And the dog was not trained at all for film work. So they talked a lot in the articles and in interviews and stuff at the time about how they just kind of turned on the camera and hoped the dog would, like, do what they needed it to do at the time. But also a lot of people watching the movie, not a lot of people, but those same chuds that were trying to find like anything wrong with the movie, were like, well, native people didn't have dogs at this time and stuff, and like, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna tell you something. The type of dog that this dog is something called a Carolina dog, and it is the only wild dog native to the U.S. And it is specifically native to the Carolinas and Georgia. So, there is every chance that even though, like, yeah, most Comanche probably wouldn't have had, at this time, companion dogs, domesticated dogs. You can already see in the movie that, this is 1719, and they've already had quite extensive trading and interaction of other sorts with the French, among other groups of colonizers. And the French and the English and the Spanish definitely would have shown up and seen smaller wild dogs and begun to domesticate them. Because we have wild wolves and we have other forms of dog like coyotes and stuff like that. But a Carolina dog, you can see in the movie, it's like a medium-sized dog, like 50-pound dog. Mm-hmm. And they have been domesticated for quite some time. So there would have been domesticated versions of that dog. And the fact that, like, she could have traded with a European for that dog, or found it when it was abandoned by a European party that had brought it from the East or something, mm-hmm. Like, by that point in time, there was enough movement of European colonizers who would have been more like, I just need me a dog, speaking as a white person who freaking loves dogs and wants a dog around her all the time, mm-hmm. Like, I absolutely see the appeal of, like, I'm gonna have a dog around. And so the fact that dog would have just ended up in the Great Plains because of, like, Europeans moving further west and taking domesticated dogs with them, and then, like, one Comanche woman being like, hey, that dog would probably be useful for hunting and stuff.
And they do make it a point into the movie, because her mother's like, why did you have that? Why do you have that animal following you?
Yeah, and she's like the only person in the movie in the entire, like, family group that she lives with, Like, of all the Comanche we see, she's the only one that has a dog, and, like, everybody else looks at her weird for it. So, like, even the movie kind of makes it a point that, like, this isn't a normal thing among the Comanche.
Hmm.
And she is, the character's name is Naru, which is really cool, because apparently, Naru is the Comanche word for fight.
I mean, there's probably an entire backstory of her father and mother saying, "Well, she's a fighter. We'll call her Fight."
Yeah, we'll call her Naru, but they, you know, so much of the movie is based on she wants to be a hunter like her brother Tabe, who, like, he is like the most skilled hunter in their village.
They call him the War Chief.
Well, he becomes a war chief because of his skill as a hunter. Tabe goes out on the Great Hunt, which is, and neither of us are any sort of expert in the customs of the Comanche Nation. So this is only what the movie is saying. But in the movie, there is the ritual of the Great Hunt, in which you can choose for yourself some large prey, or technically a predator animal. It has to be something that can fight back, it seems. A bear, a mountain lion, a wolf, some large predator animal. You say, I'm going to go kill that particular animal. That is what I choose for my great hunt. And if you come back successfully, then you are recognized as a skilled hunter and a warrior within the village. Naru is very jealous because her brother has already done that. And I forget what they said he had killed previously. He's already recognized as a hunter, but early on in the movie, one of the younger hunters and warriors is out in a group hunting, and a mountain lion gets him and drags him off, and a bunch of the guys are like, hey, we have to go find this guy. Puhi, I think is what they call him. Naru wants to go with them to track and find Puhi, and the only reason they let her go with them is because she knows medicine. She's been trained as a healer because that's what women do in the tribe.
Her mother's a healer.
Yeah, her mother is a healer. Her mother has taught her how, all the uses of the native plants, how to dress wounds and everything. And so that is what women do. They they cook, they keep the camp, they prepare the skins, when the men bring back the kill.
And apparently, Naru's father expected his daughter to be a healer and left her tools to cut roots for medicine.
Yeah,
which she has fashioned into hunting weapons.
Yeah, she has all these weapons that she's constantly sharpening and everything, but her mother points out that her father gave her these quote unquote weapons. They're not weapons, they're tools for harvesting plants. And instead, Naru has, turned them into war weapons, hunting weapons.
And I love her reason. I love her reason. She just straight up says, I want to be a hunter because you told me I couldn't.
Yeah, which, good for her.
Spite is a hell of a motivator.
Yeah. The cool thing is that she is very much the type of person who they're like, you can't do it, and she's like, the fuck I can't. Like,
and I mean, watching the movie, okay, I will, full disclosure, this is my first time watching the movie. This has been on my watch list since the movie came out because I really wanted to see it. I just never had a chance to until doing it for this episode. Calling the movie Prey rather than Predator makes sense if you actually watch the movie. Because, like Prey, everyone in this movie, from her people to the Predator himself, vastly underestimates her. Which would make her, quote, prey. Because she is small. She is, I hate saying it, she is a girl. And so the fact that all of the tribe doesn't really, I wouldn't say lack of respect, because there is some things they do respect of her.
Yeah, they respect her healing prowess.
And her tracking. And her tracking.
Yeah, and they do admit that she is a very good tracker.
So they respect her in those regards, but as a hunter, as a warrior, they don't respect her. In fact, she is vastly inexperienced. Her brother even calls out, "You're always sharpening your weapons, but you never use them."
Yeah, but the thing is that I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial. Her brother is not wrong. For the first part of the movie, the only thing we see her kill are rabbits. And we don't really see her kill those until she starts doing more inventive things with her weaponry.
Gotta have a montage.
Yeah, we do have our montage where she's like, stupid boys don't think I can be a hunter. I'll show you,
She's very inventive with how she uses her weapons.
Yeah, she comes up with kind of a boomerang return system for her hatchet.
Yeah, it's kind of like a grappling hook in a way.
Yeah, she weaves some rope and she attaches it to her hatchet, and she teaches herself how to throw and retrieve the hatchet quickly using the rope. And later on, one of the guys, one of the warriors, sees it and says, like, oh, you put a leash on your hatchet, because he does not get a chance to see her use it effectively. He just sees like, oh, she's got a rope attached to her hatchet so she won't lose it or something. But we don't actually see her kill anything until that point in the movie, after that montage, and then she kills like an entire clutch of rabbits.
It's like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, get over here. Yeah. And early on in the movie, like when her mother is kind of dressing her down about like, you know, why are you constantly out there trying to hunt things? You know, we need you to bring back medicine, and we need you here in the village trying to, you know, you should be cooking and tending to things and helping tan hides and, all this other stuff. And she says, today I almost got a deer, and her mother says, we can't eat almost. Which is a good point.
Yeah.
Like, you keep saying you're a good hunter, but where's the meat? Where are the skins? You have brought back nothing to camp.
I mean, there's also that scene of her trying to shoot the owl with the bow and arrow. Someone who doesn't really know what she's thinking, you think that she's just wasting time. She's have the bow drawn, and it's just pointing at the owl, and her brother just shoots it. Said, you fell asleep. And said, well, I was waiting for the owl to get closer to swing around back to the other side of the river, so I wouldn't have to go across the river to retrieve it. Now you're going to have to go across the river to retrieve it. Don't get your bow wet.
I'm kind of with her on that, but also, you snooze, you lose kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. And it's, again, for all of the chuds, like, how can a girl beat the predator? She literally is inexperienced. We see through the course of the movie her gaining experience, her training herself, her taking the skills she already has and applying them to hunting, taking the fact that everyone underestimates her, doesn't see her as a threat, and uses that to her advantage. Which I actually freaking love.
It's really a good kind of opening point. The other thing going on here is that things keep getting in her way, let's say. Like, the thing with the deer, she would have had the deer, except that's the first time the predator's ship comes by. The thing that spooks the deer is the sound of the predator's ship.
And also, the dog got caught in the bear trap.
Well, yeah, I mean, she does give chase to the deer for a little bit after but I'm talking about initially. She has found the deer. She is about to loose an arrow on the deer, and then all of a sudden you hear like, whoom, 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 and that spooks the deer. So, like, 2 seconds later, she would have had a deer.
And this ship is crashing. Like, this is not, I am landing on this planet to purposely hunt. No, I am crashing because there's smoke coming out of that ship and everything. There's an entire another movie we haven't even seen involving this predator.
Yeah, maybe. We don't really know the backstory of this predator, The thing is that this predator is sometimes known as the feral predator because the weaponry and everything is not as advanced as what we see later on.
It makes sense since this is supposed to be a prequel, but also we do see it in modern day where hunters will hunt with more primitive weapons just to prove that they can.
Yeah, so we don't know because some of the weaponry is the same. We do see some of the classic predator weaponry, you know. We see the net that slices through people. We see the shield blade circular thing. We do see the little 3-dot homing beacon thing. We see, you know. So there is some of the classic predator weaponry. Of course, also has the Invisishield stealth tech that's there. The predator ships look the same and everything, you know. But, you know, when Naru looks up, you know, she hears the sound, she chases the deer for a while. The sorry, her dog gets caught in a bear trap that we later find out is being used by the French trappers that are in the area.
It's just the dog's tail. The dog doesn't lose a leg or anything.
Yeah, the dog is fine, you know, hurt for a little bit, but you know, fine. And so she stops chasing the deer because, you know, the dog is caught in a trap and she's going to help her dog because she's a good mommy. She eventually goes out and looks and sees what she doesn't really understand is the predator ship, but because it's going through clouds and that's messing with the stealth tech and everything, she just sees this kind of red lightning moving through clouds, and she takes it for a Thunderbird. And she takes it as a sign that she is now ready to go on her great hunt. She tells her brother that, and her brother's like, girl, you can't even take down a hawk out of the sky. You know, you think you're ready to go chase something that could kill you back, you know? But like we said, she hears about this warrior that's been wounded by a mountain lion, and she follows the group that's going to track down the mountain lion and try to find their friend that was taken. They find the warrior, you know, that has been attacked by the mountain lion.
He's still alive.
He's still alive, and they're like, okay, why didn't the mountain lion eat him? And Naru's like, okay, I keep telling you, I'm seeing all kinds of weird shit in these woods. And they're like, okay, it's a bear, whatever. We're like, and she's like, no. Like, maybe a bear would have scared off the mountain lion, but like, a bear wouldn't have skinned a rattlesnake.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
That is such a cool scene, because it, like, you see, like, that there's, like, the predator stealth field, and then there's, like, a mouse, and then, like...
They do not shy away. You see the snake just devour this mouse.
Yeah, it like... What's the thing that comes before the mouse? Because, like, the mouse eats something, and then, like, the mouse wanders through, and then the snake jump scares. That's, like, really the big jump scare of the movie.
Man, can you imagine if this was released in 3D and you saw that snake just lunge at the screen?
Yeah, it's like, I don't really have a problem with snakes, but venomous snakes, you know, I'm smart. You know, I live in an area that is, you know, you might run across rattlesnakes or water moccasins or copperheads or all kinds of nonsense around here, but not realizing that I was like, oh, predator's going to do something to the mouse, so I was looking for the predator, and then they just did that jump scare with the rattlesnake, and I was like, oh, was not expecting that. One time I opened my front door, sort of related story. One time I opened my front door. I was with a friend in my house, and I opened my front door, and there was a 6-foot long black racer snake on the other side of my front door, and it had reared up like it was just standing up on its tail. So it was at least like a good 4 feet tall, just on the other side of my door,
Mm.
And I opened the door, and this snake is just staring at me on the other side of the door. And I just went, nope, and I closed the door. The good thing about a black racer is it's not venomous. Like it's kind of a good snake to have around because they eat rodents and other little things that you don't want around, and they'll even eat other like venomous snakes and stuff. So you want them around, but it was kind of weird because I don't know what it was doing at my door, but it was there like some weird little snake missionary, like, like, hello, do you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior set? Like, no. And the friend I was with, like, just started laughing. He was like, well, I guess we're going to stay here for a while and let that thing move along. I was like, yeah. But, so that's the sort of thing that, can happen where I live. But, fortunately it wasn't like a rattlesnake or something. But, the thing is that's the worst jump scare in the movie to me, because, like, you're not really, the first time you watch it, you're not aware that's coming, and then it's just like, snake! But the thing is that, like, after the snake has its final meal, the predator just, like, skewers it, with its little arm blades, and then skins the snake, and then just leaves the snake there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about predator. Like most, human hunters, when they're hunting for food. And predators hunt for sport. So when they make the kill, they don't harvest the meat. If anything,
they harvest trophies. The thing is, though, is that Naru comes across that rattlesnake and sees the predator's tracks, but of course she doesn't know what these tracks are because she's never seen them before. Nobody has. As far as we know, this is the first time a predator has landed on Earth. It may not be. There may be an earlier time a predator has landed on Earth, but...
Expanded universe, I'll get into it later.
Yeah, but as far as in the film series, this is the earliest we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has no context for what she's seeing, and if it's not human, the only thing that could be bipedal in that area, possibly a bear, which is what makes them think there's a bear in the area. She counters with, like, okay, a bear might leave tracks like that, maybe, but when have you ever seen a bear skin a snake and then leave the meat there? The one thing I will point out that I like about this is that when she approaches the snake does jump at her.
Mm.
if you're not used to snakes, that is a thing you have to be aware of, is that even though the snake is dead, because that snake is very, very dead. I've seen some people who have reviewed this movie that's like, it's weird that the predator left the snake alive. No, that snake is dead. And all, but for a long time after a snake is dead, and you have to be very careful about this with venomous snakes, there is energy left in the musculature of a snake. And even though it is dead, it can still reflexively bite you and inject venom. So, like, there's a saying in the South, which is that a dead snake will still move until sundown. And that's not like meant to be taken literally. It's not like, oh, you have to wait until sundown or whatever. It's just that, like, a dead snake can still move and twitch for hours. And you have to be careful even if you know the snake is dead. Which is why a lot of people, if they're dealing with like rattlesnakes and stuff and trying to kill them off, the first thing they'll do is cut off the head. Because then even if the rest of the body twitches, it can't move the head to inject the venom. So it's like dealing with a zombie almost. Like, you know,
Double tap.
you want to double tap that thing, but the way to do it is to like keep your distance and take like a machete or, you know, the sharp side of a shovel or something and decapitate it before you get too close to the body, because that last reflexive muscle twitch can still kill you, which is weird. So I liked that the movie included that. Bravo to the movie for including that, because not only is it a good jump scare for a horror movie, but it's really accurate to dealing with snakes in the wild.
One thing I will give this movie credit for is goes out of its way to be as historically accurate as possible. Not only historically accurate, but like you said, I'm trying to find the right word. Accurate in nature. Like you said, a snake will still move hours after it's dead. So that's a plus too.
Yeah, the way that they have the animals react to things, the way that they show animals stalking, you're right. It is very well researched on the way different animals react. Both the prey animals and the predator animals.
So to get back here, so they do find the lion, or should I say the lion finds Naru.
Well, not only Naru, but the who's with Naru at the time? Pake. Because they split the party. Not ever a thing you want to do. Because Tabe is like, yeah, y'all take Puhi back to the camp. We get the big plot point here about this particular flower they call orange tatsia, I think. So this orange flower that is name dropped a couple of times earlier in the movie, but here with Poohee, we finally see what it does. And what it does is it slows your heart rate and your blood pumping down and lowers your body temperature. And she uses it on Poohee to slow his bleeding so he won't bleed out before they can get him back to camp.
And this does come back several times in the movie.
Yeah, this becomes a major plot point in the movie. Tabe, who wants to be the big swinging dick about everything, is like, yeah, but there's still a mountain lion out there and it's got a taste for human meat now, and I'm going to prove that I'm the best hunter around, and I'm going to go track it by myself. As the rest of the group is heading back to camp, Naru is like, that's when she finds the tracks and the skinned rattlesnake, and she's like, no, I've got to warn my brother, there's something else out here. And they're like, it's just a bear or whatever. And she's like, maybe, but I don't think so. I'm going to warn my brother. And she heads off, and like the rest of the group sends this other douche nozzle called...
Watch her, make sure she doesn't get in trouble or something.
Yeah, Pake, I think was his name or whatever. But anyway, he's just a douche nozzle. We're going to call him douche nozzle. Anyway, so Naru goes back with douche nozzle, and they find Tabe, and he's like, all right, whatever. You want to prove that you're a hunter? Here's your big hunt. You're going to kill this lion, and me and douche nozzle are going to sit back and watch you kill the lion.
And this is where we get the big phrase of the movie, this is as far as you go.
Yeah, which every time I watch this movie, like, I'm just thinking, like, of Patrick Stewart in First Contact, like, this far, no further, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of like that thing. Like, you have to look at the thing you're hunting and being like, no, this is as far as you go. You shall not pass. You know, it's one of those kind of speeches. And they get this idea of like, we're gonna put a trap on the ground, and Naru and Douche Nozzle are gonna sit up in the tree and wait for the mountain lion to come back, and then Tabe is gonna fuck off somewhere and do his own thing. I don't even know what he was planning on doing.
But he at least humors Naru's idea, because the tree thing is Naru's idea.
Yeah. But so, like, Naru and Douche Nozzle are sitting up in the tree, and Douche Nozzle earns his name at this point because they're sitting up in the tree waiting for the mountain lion to come back, and Naru is trying to be like patient hunter, waiting for my prey to come back, and you know, all this kind of stuff. And Douche Nozzle is like, hey, so like, you know how you're just a girl and stuff and you can't do anything right? So like, when the lion comes back, me and Tabe, who is not here for some reason, we're like totally just gonna like wreck that mountain lion's shit all over everything. And like, because you're a girl, you're like, nah! And then like the mountain lion just like comes out of nowhere and totally wrecks his shit.
And is on top of the tree. And here is the thing. And honestly, and I love, okay, this is getting further in the movie, but Tabe even admits it. She had the lion. Now, granted, the lion is stalking her onto the tree. If, number one, she didn't get distracted by the predator, and number two, if that branch didn't break, she would have killed the lion.
It's her and the mountain lion. Like, what's so funny is Douche Nozzle doesn't even really get a proper death. Like, we're just assuming he's dead because we never see his body again. Like, mountain lion just comes out of nowhere and like sideswipes him off the tree.
And all the way out of the movie.
And all the way out of the movie, like, we never see, like, anybody mourn this dude. We never, like, nobody's ever like, yeah, mountain lion killed douche nozzle. His corpse is over at the tree. Somebody go get him. Like, no, like, nobody ever speaks of this dude again. Like, and what's so funny is it's like a female mountain lion too. So it's almost like he's like shit talking women, and the mountain lion's like, "What'd you say about women?" Like, but yeah, the thing is like two things happen here that mean that Naru doesn't get the kill at this point, which is, like you said, the predator shows up and like does the little click click predator noise, and that like makes her turn her head. But also she's at the like thin end of the branch away from the tree trunk, and it snaps under her weight and she falls to the ground and hits her head on a rock.
But she's also holding in her arm a spear, and the fall injures the lion because she had the spear in her hand pointed at the lion.
Yeah. Tabe carries her back to camp and then goes back and like finishes off the injured mountain lion and takes credit for the kill, and that's how he becomes war chief. Because everybody's
the disrespect her own mother gives her. My son brought you home. Not your brother brought you home. My son brought you home.
Yeah. Because, like, they're both her children, but, yeah, it's like, it's almost like you're not my daughter anymore, you know?
Give up the silly dream of being a hunter.
Well, the thing is she does kind of say that she'll show Naru respect if she'll stay in her lane, because she was like, Puhi survived because of your medicine. Like, they brought him back to camp safely because you knew what to do to make him, you know, to let him survive. So, like, we still have a good warrior who's going to recover because you did the woman thing and were a healer. But then you almost went and got yourself killed because you wanted to be a hunter. Like, way to screw up, you know? If you'd have just immediately come back to camp, you'd have been fine, but no, your brother had to drag you back to camp. And then he comes back with what it should have technically been her kill. And then she was like, hey, we killed the mountain lion. He's like, no, I killed the mountain lion. And now I am war chief. And you need to go back to being a healer and staying in camp and, you know, cooking food and whatever.
One thing that you're kind of forgetting on this one, and I understand why you are, he's stammering, he's stuttering as he's saying this, almost trying himself not to cry. He's trying to say, I don't want you to die, my sister. Please stay here so you can live. Because you almost got eaten by a freaking lion. I understand that. Again, as a brother myself, I can understand where he's coming from. But number two, you are also right. It should have been her kill.
Yeah, and the thing is that I would give him more credit on that if this wasn't at least the second kill in the movie we've seen him gank from her.
Fair enough.
Like the thing with the hawk at the beginning, that's literally the first thing we see him do, is he's bragging about what a big swinging dick he is, and then he takes her kill from her. That, to me, is like, I do believe, because of what we see throughout the course of the movie, that he does care about her and is trying to keep her safe. Yes, I absolutely believe that. I do not think he's a villain in this movie. But I do think he is a little bit of a dick.
Yeah, he's got a chip on his shoulders because he's seen as this high and mighty warrior. But yeah.
I get where he's coming from in the sense of he was raised to believe this way and he has not questioned it. And he does not question it until it is too late for him. But, like I said, I would give him a little more leeway on this if he had not been so overt in his rudeness to his sister.
Fair enough.
But I do believe that he truly loves her and cares about her and wants to keep her safe.
I mean, he does go out of his way to defend her and support her the best way he knows how in her trying to be a hunter. Like, we're going to do this Naru's way. We're going to follow Naru's plan. We're going to keep her on this little crusade we're on for the mountain lion because she has skills that we need.
Yeah.
And then she falls into a mud pit.
And
this movie almost ends 40 minutes in.
Yeah, and like, I'm glad you pointed that out, how long it's been in the movie, because this movie runs at a breakneck pace. This is not a very long movie.
This is a 90-minute movie, and it is I don't want to say roller coaster, because it doesn't move at that kind of pace, but it's very brisk.
Yeah, and it does so without a lot of dialogue.
And also characters speaking 3 different languages. So we have the Comanche language, which is spoken sparsely in the movie. Most of the language is spoken in English. And then we have the French guys.
Yeah. And the thing about the use of the Comanche language in the main edit of the movie is that the audience is supposed to believe that the characters are still speaking Comanche. We are just hearing it in English for our benefit. There are words in Comanche that are not translated to kind of occasionally remind us, like, these people are not speaking English. You're just hearing it in English for your benefit. But later in the movie, where the Comanche and the French interact, then the Comanche are speaking English for the audience's benefit because they are the viewpoint characters. And the French are speaking French because they are the invaders, for lack of a better word. I mean,
and there's that one translator who does speak English, but he's saying, I am speaking your language.
Yeah. It's very obvious that this is meant to be. He even says, you are Comanche, right? You are, yeah, I speak your language and everything. So it's meant to tell the audience that, like, this is not English they are speaking. There is, however, on Hulu, an entire dub of the movie that is just Comanche and French.
That was another one of the controversies. Apparently, the anti-woke incel chuds thought the entire movie was in Comanche, not knowing that is just an option.
I have yet to watch it in Comanche, but I do want to watch that cut because apparently they originally wanted to do it that way and just subtitle it in English.
I can see, especially if they had wanted this to have a theatrical release, I don't know how that would have flew.
There are foreign language films, or non-English films, as they officially call them now. The thing is that, if people can watch a Korean movie like Parasite, with subtitles, then why can we not extend the same to something like Prey being done in Comanche? That's neither here nor there. They went with that idea of the, and this is not anything new. A lot of things have compared this to, like, Hunt for Red October, where they start out speaking Russian and then it goes to English to be like, okay, we know the audience is English, but you understand that these characters are speaking Russian.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing said in the movie is in Comanche before Naru translates it to English for the audience.
Yeah. I'm okay with that because film is always like a heightened reality. You can have people doing voiceovers and stuff of like, and that's when I thought to myself, which that's not going to happen in reality. So if you can do that, then you can have a thing of like, I understand that this character is speaking a different language, and the film is having it translated for me to help me understand this person's, inner soul or whatever. But I do like that it's there so that we have the Comanche language preserved on film.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that there's a full dub of the film in Comanche. So few, North American native languages are actually preserved in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see more of it. Strangely, Disney-owned properties have been kind of better about this, Avengers just got dubbed into, I forget which language. It might have been Navajo, or maybe Lakota. I can't remember. But yeah, they actually redubbed the entire movie, in order to make it accessible in that language to help preserve the language. So, bravo, and let's do more of that for marginalized languages that were almost wiped out by colonization. Anyway, back to the film.
Let's get to the point where Naru meets the Predator.
Yeah, Naru kind of runs off after her brother gets made war chief on the back of her kill, and she's like, you know what? I'm going to prove to everybody that not only am I a hunter, but also that there is something fucking weird out there in the woods, and it's not a bear, and,
And what does she see? It's a bear.
Yeah, what she ends up seeing is a bear. She's stalking through the woods and she ends up falling into a bog, like you said, and almost drowns. But she uses her hatchet on a string as basically a grappling hook. Yeah.
Yep.
Throws it, sticks it into a tree, pulls herself out. And then goes to a river to wash herself and all her stuff.
And her bow gets wet.
Bear comes up and is like, yeah, because
Hey.
she fell into the bog and needs to wash the mud off of it. But Bear comes up and is like, do I smell a tasty snack? Yes, I do. And when she tries to shoot it, her bowstring breaks because it's wet. And she's trying to restring the bow, but that doesn't work. And sorry to the rescue! Woof, woof, woof! Come chase me, Bear!
Good dog.
Good dog. So Sorry distracts it before the bear can munch Naru, and all of a sudden, as Naru is trying to get away from the bear and is hiding in like a beaver dam that is conveniently nearby, the predator comes along and just gores the absolute fuck out of this bear.
Bear got a good shot in because we see the green blood dripping from his mouth.
Yeah, I mean, Bear gets its own because, as this movie does point out, yet again, because this movie was made for people who have never seen a Predator movie before, that is not a bad thing. This movie has plenty of Easter eggs if you are a Predator fan. I am a Predator fan. This movie is filled with Easter eggs for hardcore Predator fans.
To the other films, not just the original.
Yeah, not just the original, but like the whole series. But if you've never seen a Predator film before, all you have to know is like, oh, there's an alien that likes to hunt and it's on Earth. Like, do you understand the basic concept of Predator? You're good to go for this movie. But like, this is one of the ways she figures out, like, Predator only really attacks things that is capable of attacking back, because Bear gets its own in, you know? And we see the green blood dripping down, and then Bear absolutely gets got and thrown into that beaver dam.
The effects of the predator holding up the bear carcass, celebratory, very unpredator-like, as the blood is oozing over the invisibility shield.
Which is how she gets her first look at what this thing is sort of, you know? Because
us. This is our first look at the Predator proper.
Yeah, if you've never seen a Predator movie and you don't know what a Predator looks like, this is your first shot in the movie of the basic form of the Predator.
Very different looking Predator to the ones we've seen in previous films.
Yeah, because it's not covered in the full armor. This is a much more stripped down Predator. Has like a bone helmet, faceplate, but the armor is much lighter, not as much metal on the body. The Predator is actually played by Dane DeLiegro. I hope I'm saying that right. Who was a basketball player, and he after he retired, he became an actor, and he's done a lot of horror films and sci-fi and stuff. He did some work in Free Guy, which we've talked about before, although we didn't talk about him, I don't think. He worked on Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah, he was one of the high evolutionaries experiments.
Yeah. He's done work on Walking Dead. He worked in an Xbox commercial promotion thing that was directed by Taika Waititi, where he played Master Chief. So, like, he's used to being in costumes and stuff like that. But he's also going to have some part in Skeleton Crew, the new Star Wars show. But I don't know what he's doing in that. But anyway, he's the Predator in this one. And so they really stripped down the look of the Predator from a lot of the previous films, because they wanted it to be, like I said, the feral Predator. Whether or not it's just because it's a couple of hundred years in the past from the movies we saw before, or if he's just the type of Predator that is like, no, I'm just gonna go in there with like a combat knife and a bandana and that's it, you know?
I don't need a gun. I'm going to hunt with my spear.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing. The part of that is really cool in this is that when you get the silhouette of the Predator, it is still recognizable to fans as the Predator. But if this is your first introduction to these things, the way that they introduce it in this film is like so cool, because it's holding up the bear and then there's just this like rush of blood coming down over the silhouette, and you're like, immediately you're like, well, okay, that's not human, it's not animal, it's not, I don't know what this is, because you can't really see the fine detail, but you can see the basic shape and the fact that there's some like armor and some weapons, and then you've also seen the kind of green glowing blood poking out here and there, It's a really good shot and I love it. Naru's reaction to that is incredible, because she sees it and then Predator's just like, well, killed that thing, gonna move on now, and just like tosses the bear aside, and it
I mean, he
breaks.
gets his trophy off of it first, but
Well,
yeah.
yeah, but the way he like tosses just this like several 100 pounds of bear carcass into
Like
that beaver dam, and
it's
it
nothing.
falls next to her, and she's still hiding and trying to be like, please don't see me, please don't see me, and then the bear carcass just like lands next to her, and this thing she was running from is now just like a hunk of dead meat with like dead eyes staring at her. It's so well framed. Like every shot of this film is just like portrait perfect,
And the Predator follows her as Tabe has sent his other warriors to get his sister back.
Yeah, but we do have one, because she escapes into the river and the Predator sees her heat signature. But the thing is that there is one other really important plot point here, which is that as she's running away from the Predator, she gets her foot caught in one of those freaking traps that the French keep leaving everywhere. And the predator comes right up to her and sees that she's trapped and sees that she ran away without any of her weapons because they're still back. You know, she was running from the bear and she didn't have time to grab the weapons. And now she's without weapons and she's trapped. She is no longer a threat.
And, you know, the predator also saw her get her ass kicked by her brother's friends. But it's like the predator, it used to be just shift to the predator's focus on them, and she is getting her ass handed to her, and they're just dragging her away home. So yeah, she is no threat. She can't even handle these guys. She can't handle me.
Yeah, the thing is that they tie her up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, you know, you get them making fun of her for having her weapon on a leash and all that kind of stuff. And the thing is that she is trying to warn these guys.
There's
Because
something
there's
out
like
there.
5 or 6 of them
Mm-hmm.
in this scene. And she's like, look, there is something out there. I have seen it. She compares it to some kind of monster from Comanche legend. I am not familiar with that legend. And I can't remember the name she calls it by. They mock her for being like, oh, now you're seeing stuff from stories from when we were kids, and
Now you're seeing the boogeyman.
Yeah, it's basically like, oh, now you're seeing the boogeyman, you know. Like, did you see Bigfoot too, kind of thing. She's desperately trying to tell them, like, we have to run. You have to untie me. We have to run. We have to get out of here. Or we have to maybe stand and fight. Whatever. And they're like, ha ha ha, no, you know, chill out a second. And then Predator's like, oh look, bunch of guys with weapons. Wonder if they can take me. Bet you they can't. And just starts laying
It's a
waste to these
slaughter,
dudes.
man. It is our first real look at the feral predator without the blood. He's just right into the camera, roaring like a monster.
Yeah. Roaring like a predator.
Yeah.
But the thing is that these guys, like, he doesn't just kill them, he dismembers them. And this is the first time we see him kill humans.
I mentioned Mortal Kombat. It is a Mortal Kombat fatality, cutting off the body parts.
Yeah, because like there's the one dude where he like cuts off one arm and the dude's like ah, and then he cuts off the other arm and he's like ah, and then like one dude he like pins him to a tree trunk with his spear like through the shoulder and then he cuts the dude's legs off and the guy's like ah, you know, like this is like an absolutely brutal gore fest. And all that Naru can do is kind of just not just sit there and watch, but she's running around trying to free herself because they've got her tied up.
Yeah, she gets her hatchet and cuts herself free.
Yeah, they've taken away her weapons, so she's got nothing to defend herself with. And this is kind of before she's completely put 2 and 2 together that the predator won't kill her unless she's, you know, got a weapon.
And again, this is canon to the other movies. Any predator will not kill an unarmed target because there's no fun in that. There's no sport in that.
You know, she finally gets her weapon back and cuts herself free, runs away into like this tall grass, and she's grabbed by, like, the only other surviving member of the party, and he's like, hey, no, shh, I got him. And then she sees the 3 dots from his weapon, the homing beacon weapon, and she's like, oh no, wait, I've seen him use that before. And she's like, nope, he's got us, run! And they run, but the dude doesn't make it, because that homing weapon's really good. And that's the part of the movie where she gets trapped and loses her hatchet.
Yeah, she gets into the bear trap, and we meet our French guys.
She's very confused because the predator has her dead to rights, It's like right there in her face and staring at her and clicking away, and she's like, okay, why is it not finishing me off? And then it hears the French guys coming and backs off and watches, and they put her in a cage and they mock her, and turns out that at some point they had all also captured Tabe. We don't know when this happened, but it happened.
Well, we know that the party split and says, well, he was looking for you on the other side of the river. And that's probably where they got him.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Tabe is kind of an idiot in this movie in that he keeps going like, I am the mighty hunter and I will go off by myself, and shit keeps happening because he does that. Like, maybe he shouldn't have done that. Anyway.
We meet our French guys, and mostly French, one Italian dude, our translator. We don't really know his name up until the point where we see his gun, where his name is Raphael Aldolini. Now, Raphael Aldolini is a character that was briefly referenced in Predator 2. Here's your references to the other Predator movies. But he's also an expanded universe character because he's been in some of the comic books taking place prior to the events of this movie. This is why I say, it depends if you want to count expanded universe material in the movie canon of the Predator films.
Yeah, the thing about this dude and his gun is, for like the big time Predator fans, this gun, which becomes a big plot point of, like, he teaches Naru how to use the gun. He gives it to her as like a gift for helping him later, when he's wounded and everything.
Yeah, she saves his life.
Yeah, but in Predator 2, the main character in Predator 2, that's the Danny Glover character. He ends up, spoiler alert for that movie, but he ends up killing a predator. And this is witnessed by more predators who, at the end of the movie, unstealth, and he realizes, like, oh, they've been watching this whole fight, and they pick up the body of their fallen, predator family member or buddy or whatever he is, and the like predator chief or whatever that's leading the group walks up to Danny Glover and he gives him this flintlock pistol. like, basically is like, mad respect, you took down a predator, good hunt. Gift for you, you know? And then they, like, fuck off back to their planet, right? And when Danny Glover looks at the pistol, it has the name of Raphael Adelini, and it has the date of, like, 1716 or something like that. I forget what the exact date is, but it's
1718.
Before this movie takes place. That was, like, always a big thing in the fandom of, like, where did this come from? You know, like, who is this guy? How long have the predators been hunting on Earth, you know? And so they did a comic book about, like, where did that gun come from that came out in the 90s. And it told, like, the backstory of that dude and how he got his gun. And so him being in this movie was, like, a massive Easter egg of, like, how did that gun first, like, intersect the Predator universe or whatever?
It's like an expanded universe character showing up in a Star Wars movie or something.
Yeah, but that gun itself was already in the canon Predator films. So, like, even though the character had never appeared in the official films until this movie, that gun had already shown up in the 90s.
So it is possible that this is the first predator to hunt on Earth.
Yeah, which might have been, like, the significance of that gun. Like, this is a thing that came from the first time we visited your planet.
The first one of you to kill one of us.
Because, spoiler alert, you know, we see in the end credits, if you watch the end credits, it's shown that there are 3 ships heading down to Earth at the end of the movie. That could be more predators coming to fuck shit up, or, like the end of Predator 2, they could just be showing up to collect the body of the hunter who failed in his hunt and show up and be like, hey, Naru, took down a predator. Good for you. And maybe they exchanged gifts, and that was Naru's gift back to the predator. Because in a lot of cultures, you can't receive a gift without giving a gift. And I don't know if that's part of Comanche culture, but, like,
could just be part of predator culture. We don't know.
Well, like, we know that, like, I don't remember Danny Glover being like, thanks for the pistol, here's a gift in return.
It's been so long since I've seen Predator 2.
Yeah, same here. I just remember them giving him the pistol in recognition of, like, wow, you are a mighty hunter who took down a predator. Go you, you know? So, like, maybe they came down and, like, gave her a spear or something, and she was like, oh, yeah, here's this pistol, you know? Like, you gave me a weapon, I will give you a weapon in return, kind of thing. And that's how the Predators got that. I don't know. But, yeah, that's kind of the significance of that dude and that gun. But the thing is, like, the French guys are trying to find out, like, where the predator is, because he's been fucking their shit up too. And the French guys are like, hey, we're going to torture your brother until you tell us where the predator is. And she's like, I don't know where the predator is. I've been running away from the thing.
They
And
also stab him to bleed him because they believe that's how they will attract the predator.
yeah, and so they tie Naru and Tabe to, like, a tree. The thing is like, boy, the French are not portrayed very well in this movie. Not that I blame the movie for that. Like, that's not a ding on the movie, because Naru finds, like, a bunch of dead buffalo that have been skinned, and the way it's done, you think it's supposed to be the predator has done this, and then you find out later that it's been the French doing it. And then,
Yeah, they're wearing buffalo skin, and she's like, they killed the buffalo.
I mean, which is historically accurate, colonizers and fur traders and stuff did wipe out just, like, almost the entire buffalo population at the time. They also have been just clear cutting and burning large chunks of forest as well. And this place looks like some layer of hell, because the trees are dead, and also there's just ash swirling around everywhere. And it's such a horrific scene.
Like the bare trees, man.
And all of that ash just everywhere. And it kind of looks like snow, except it's not snow, because it's like, September in the Great Plains.
And I love the effect of the ash on the predator in the Invisa armor, because you see like the red lightning kind of come off it every time that ash is touching him.
Yeah, it just kind of keeps popping, which is such a neat effect. But the thing is that they tie Tabe and Naru to one of the, dead trees, and Tabe's like, we're bait, he's gonna come and kill us, and, I don't want to go out like this. And Naru's like, no, he doesn't hunt that way. It's like T-Rex doesn't want to be fed, T-Rex wants to hunt, And she explains to him, like, I didn't have a weapon. I was in a trap. It came right up to me, and it could have killed me, and it didn't. It didn't see me as a threat. It's got some kind of code. Tabe's like, okay, we got to get out of this and try to kill it. And she's like, you think we can kill that? And it's like, well, if it bleeds, we can kill it. And
There's your reference. That's another reference.
There's your reference. But I get that we finally get some respect between Tabe to Naru, because he finally, like, stands there for a second and he was like, wait a minute. This is the thing you were going after for your big hunt? And she was like, yeah. And he just, like, laughs. Because, like, yeah, this is worse than a bear. This is worse than a mountain lion. This is like, you picked a predator for your big hunt to prove yourself as a hunter.
Alien hunter.
Yeah. With technology well above anything this planet has ever seen. Good for you, sis.
But he does give his sister her props. Like, yeah, you weakened the lion. I may have killed it, but you weakened it. You could have had it. But also, you see things a different way than I do. And that's how you got there. So it's like, you see the world in a different way than I do. You're a different kind of hunter. It's kind of what he doesn't say it outright, but that's what it sounds like to me. You
Yeah,
hunt a
I
different.
mean, it really is. And he's like, he kind of finally admits that she has skills that are probably worth more in this situation than his, like, let's just run at the thing and stab it,
Mhm.
which is kind of the way he does things.
Well, I
But
mean, it makes sense because he is a tall, built man, and she is a small woman. I'm not going to say frail, but she is small, so she has to hunt a different way than he does.
yeah, she relies more on tracking, stealth, patience, using her dog to hunt, uh, coming up with new and unique ways to use her weapons. I mean, it's a different way to do. He relies more on brute strength and speed and things like that. Um, but we get into finally seeing, like, Predator Unleashed here, because the French are like, all right, we're just gonna wait for, they think they're still just dealing with an animal. And they're like, all right, we've set up bait for the animal. Let's just wait for it to come and feast, and then we'll shoot it with our superior gun technology. Um, and one of my favorite shots in the movie is the French are just, like, sitting there, or, they're lying there with their guns pointed towards Tabe and Naru, as the bait. And you see, like, there's, like, two guys laying on the ground, like, in sniper position, but then there's two guys behind them in blurry, non-focus, sitting on horses. And then all of a sudden you just see those guys fall off their horses, and the horses go running. And then, like, a few seconds later, you see the horses go running by Tabe and Naru. And Tabe's like, man, I gotta get me a horse. I've
I
always
love
wanted
that.
a horse. Like,
It's probably one of the funniest jokes in this movie because it's like it's such an out of nowhere. Like, oh man, I want a horse.
yeah, and what's so funny is that, like, Tabe and Naru seem to be vaguely aware of what's going on, and they seem like a little less freaked out because of what Naru has just said, and that Tabe now believes her.
But
But
also the people that tied him up and tried to kill him are getting slaughtered themselves, and they're just like, yeah, well, whatever.
yeah, but what's so funny is the French people, the French guys don't know what's going on yet. And so then it cuts back to, like, the two guys, on the sniper, and they, like, turn around to say something to the guys on the horses, and then they realize that the guys are just dead on the ground, and they're like, oh shit. Like, and the Predator just comes out of nowhere and starts slaughtering them. And that just leads to an entire bloodbath of, like, 30 guys. And it is so much fun because finally he pulls out all the weaponry that you're used to seeing a Predator use.
And even their own weapons against him, because like one of the French dudes is chasing at him with a hatchet. He grabs the hatchet out of his hands, flips it, and just drives it into his skull.
My
Like,
favorite one is the guy that shoots the Predator with the pistol, and it pings off of the skull helmet that Predator's wearing and ricochets and just hits the guy right between the eyes.
if I'm the Predator, I'm thinking that one doesn't count.
Yeah, I can't claim that kill. That was an own goal. Like,
Man, I gotta take -1 off my kill list because of that one.
yeah. What's so funny is that I like that in the middle of, like, all of these French dudes running around getting, like, slaughtered, you cut back to Naru and Tabe, and they're like trying to get out of their, the ropes that are tying them up. And Naru just starts on this long ass story about like, one time I saw a beaver and it was caught in a trap and the water was rising around it and it knew it was going to drown, but it couldn't get out of the trap. So it chewed its own leg off. And she's like, finally gotten a hold of like a nearby trap that landed near them because of like an explosion or whatever that the predator set off. And she's pulling the trap toward them, and Tabe's like, no, don't do it. And she pulls it closer and closer and closer, and she's like, but it knew that like chewing off its own limb was better than like, waiting for death and being trapped there or whatever. And he's like, Naru, no! And then like she sets off the trap and it just snaps the rope that's been binding them together. And Tabe looks at her like, oh, fuck, I thought you were gonna like, snap your wrist off or something. And she looks at him and she's like, I'm much smarter than a beaver.
I mean, it plays into what's been going on in this movie the entire time of him telling these stories of him hunting, and it just bores the hell. I'll say, it bores the fuck out of her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear your hunting stories. I'm trying to either hunt myself or get us out of this predicament.
Yeah, but I just love that she like sets up that whole story making him think that she's about to like chop her own hand off or whatever with the trap. And really it's like, you realize that we can just cut through the ropes, right?
Yeah, the entire scene of the Predator just wrecking shit throughout the French dudes, it's just perfect stunt work. Like, it's just the one continuous shot of the Predator walking and just wrecking shit.
Yeah, it is so great. And then they're just running around like doing shit, and a lot of it just takes place in the background, like dudes flying in the background as they're running. The funny thing is that he's like, I'm gonna go get a horse, and she's like, I'm gonna go save my dog, and they're like, cool.
Yeah, she goes back to the French camp, which the ones that were able to escape got back to. So, and she lies in wait, and she probably, because they're getting out of there, like, hey, this thing is after us, we need to get out of here. And they probably would have lived had not the one French guy came back and drew his sword to stab the dog. Because then she gets butts in and she is wrecking shit. And yeah, she goes full Mortal Kombat Scorpion on the remaining guys, throwing that hatchet. It is awesome. I don't know how you can watch this movie and just not smile at just at the stunt work, because the stunt work's amazing.
The cool thing about it is that when they're going through all this stuff, she gets back there, and instead of just being like, okay, we're not going to mess with this girl, and also we're not going to mess with her dog because there's a friggin' predator on the loose, they're like, yeah, kill the girl, kill the dog. Why not? Because that's the stupid fucking way to think, right? And because of that, she kills the French dudes, and also the predator kills the French dudes, and she just walks through, gets her dog. Then the Italian translator dude comes back in because the predator cut off one of his legs using one of his nifty little toys. And the Italian dude's like, I've seen you know medicine, help me, and I will give you my gun and teach you how to use it. And Naru's like, yeah, sweet, I can do that. So she helps stop the bleeding on his leg, and she gives him some of the orange flower. Then the predator shows up, and she's like, fuck you, dude, I'm gonna go hide.
And I mean, in a way, I can understand this. He plays dead. Like, he's laying there. He just flat out plays dead, pretending to be dead. Mostly because as you said, the orange flower lowers.
Well, the thing is, he doesn't know that. But what else are you gonna do if your leg is cut off? He's in a lot of pain. And now he also is very, very cold, and he doesn't have control over all of his muscles because he's shaking so hard from the cold that he feels.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hand it to him. It's the smartest thing he can do, because he doesn't have a weapon anymore. He can't run, and he doesn't know the rules of the Predator.
I mean, I do like that we shift to the Predator view, and yeah, his body has gone cold. There's no heat. There's no heat signature.
And the thing is that we see Naru, who's hiding behind a tree, which is disguising her heat signature. She sees that the Predator looks straight at the guy and doesn't see him, and she's like, it works. It doesn't see him. And the only thing that, like, fucks shit up for the poor dude is that the Predator doesn't see him so much that the Predator accidentally steps on him, and he screams, and reflexively the Predator kills him.
It's a pretty cool death scene, but, like, man, a foot away, he would have lived.
Yeah, I mean, sucks to be you, dude. Then, sadly, the dog comes out, and it's like, I'm gonna protect my mistress. I feel bad for her because she can't, like, do anything without giving herself away, and she's trying to remember how to work the gun because she didn't get time to practice with it. Like, he literally just told her verbally how to use the gun while she was patching him up. So she's never used the gun before. And she's trying to load this flintlock pistol, which is not easy.
Not too much powder, not too little.
Yeah. The Predator looks down at the dog and is about to kill the dog, and then turns out Tabe found him a horse.
Knocks off the helmet, and we get the full view of this ugly motherfucker.
It's still using the same design from the Stan Winston days. Mm. Good to see. Those little hinged jaw things, you know. Looking good, and it was an animatronic head, so that was still...
Yay for practical effects.
Yeah. And so Predator lets out a roar, like, yeah, my head, you know. And Doggy runs off, and Predator's like, all right, I'm gonna fight this dude now.
But this is also where Naru finds out how the helmet works. Because since the helmet was knocked off, the laser pointers are pointing at a tree, rather. So when he launches his missile at Tabe, it hits the tree. Yeah,
it turns out that Predator can't hit Sorry, yay, or Tabe, yay, because it can't lock on without the helmet. Mm-hmm. Naru's like, all right, I have noticed that. I will catalog it for later. And she tries to fire at the Predator, but she hasn't learned how to use the pistol yet. I like that they included that in the movie.
I mean, this is a modern version of just the gun jamming in a modern movie. Or a movie that takes place in modern time.
Yeah. But, you know, she goes out there, she starts fighting with the Predator as well, helping her bro.
Tommy gets a few good licks in.
Oh yeah, Predator's bleeding pretty good by the end of that fight. But the only problem is Predator gets his is in Visishield working again and disappears, and they're like, crap, where'd he go? And Tabe was like, I'm hearing clicking behind me.
This is as far as I go.
Yeah, I'm thinking this is as far as I go. You might want to run. I have mad respect for you, sis. You're actually a good hunter, and I'm sorry I was a dick. And then he gets just shish kebabbed from behind. I mean, it was a valiant death. He got his own on the.
He got
the
one
Predator.
shot after getting skewered, though.
Yeah, which is actually what saves Naru.
Because again, she cannot pull the trigger on that gun.
Yeah.
She's got the gun pointed at him. Predator sees the gun. Okay, girl, you're a threat now. Had Tabe not had one last spring of life stabbing the Predator in his leg, she'd be dead.
Naru runs away with the dog, and she actually thinks about things for a bit. And she's like, you know what? That idea of using somebody as bait, good idea. You just didn't know how to properly use somebody as bait versus a predator. So I'm going to do it correctly. So she captures the one surviving French guy and uses that thing that cuts off limbs and cuts off his limb while he's knocked out.
She knocks him out with the butt of the gun.
Yeah. She makes sure his gun is non-functional and sets it up so that he'll be the only one holding the gun. She takes the orange flower so that her body heat will lower so that Predator can't see her. And waits for Predator to show up. And then she gives a cool little speech about, hey, everybody underestimated me, and that's gonna be the death of you. And then Predator shows up, and it's like
that whole thing, that whole speech is cold and awesome. You bled my brother, so I bleed you. You underestimated me. My brother estimated me. This monster underestimated me, and that will be all of your downfall.
yeah. And so, the French guy is like, haha, stupid girl, I have a gun. She's like, oh, really? Do you? Do you have a gun? Pick up the gun. Use the gun. Sure. And he picks up the gun doesn't fire, and he's like, huh? And Predator's like, hey, look, a dude with a gun, and literally nobody else here, because there's no body heat anywhere around. And that bit where the Predator steps within like an inch of her and doesn't even notice she's there, and she just like steps like one more inch to the side to let him pass. Like, oh, so good. And Predator just wanders over and is like, hello, only human in combat distance, holding a weapon. Yeah, he kills the French guy, and then she's like, surprise, motherfucker, I learned how to use this here pistol, and I'm going to use it to knock off your mask. She runs away and sets up a trap, and
I mean, it is the same sort of ending as Predator 1 with Arnold. In that, much like in that first Predator movie with Arnold, he knew he could not overpower the Predator, so he outsmarted the Predator. That's exactly what happens here. And it's still awesome. Because it starts
but honestly, I think it's a little bit cooler here because I think the method of outsmarting is set up a little better.
Because she's using the Predator's own technology against him, something Arnold did not do in that original movie.
Yeah, I mean, Arnold still overpowers the Predator in the original movie, just with, like, forest traps, you know? In this, we see her learning at every step of the way the information she's going to need to know to set up these traps at the end of the movie. You know? It'll ignore you unless you're holding a weapon. The orange flower disguises your body temperature. And the thing is like, some of that is done in the original movie. Arnold realizing that the mud disguises the body temperature and, all that kind of stuff. Some of that is present in the original movie. But, like, literally everything in the final scene has been set up earlier in the movie. Like, oh, there's a bog here. Oh, this is what the mask is used for. Oh, this is, how the orange flower works. Oh, this is how his code of honor works. Oh, this is how
how his shield works.
This is how his shield works. This is how his, you see every little bit of that come together at the end, in the end confrontation.
I love that she uses the spear to knock his shield and cut his own arm off.
Yeah.
That is freaking awesome.
Yeah, but in the original movie, it's more like some of those things come into play, and then Arnold is like, I am not strong enough to injure the Predator, but maybe if I set up a trap with a big tree log, the tree log is strong enough to injure the Predator, So this, to me, seems a little more slick in the way they set it up, which I like a little bit more. But yeah, her setting the mask on the other side of the bog and the Predator not realizing that the ground is unstable and sinking into the bog. And
again, say what you will, oh, girl beats Predator. Girl beats a one-armed Predator. So, with his own technology. But I do also like the fact that she rips one of his own mandibles off and stabs him with it.
Yeah, that's great. And then I like that, she uses its own weapons to injure it, which is probably the only way you can do that, given the technology she has access to. But then, of course, after she kills it, she cuts off its head and then paints her face with its blood, so that when she comes back to camp to her people, not only does she have the head of her prey, she's like, I have the trophy from my big hunt, but also my face paint has been replaced with the blood, which we see her brother do earlier in the movie with the mountain lion.
I'm just so glad Predator's blood isn't acidic.
Well, yeah, unlike the alien. Although we do see in Predator versus Alien that predators mark themselves when they kill an alien, that they use the acidic blood to, like, scar their skin to prove that, like, they killed an alien. So that would have been kind of badass, honestly.
One thing you skipped over, and I want to stress this: the dog helps him to kill.
Yeah, that's true.
This is a tag team. Like, she is calling the dog over. She is carrying the weapon, and it's the tag team, the Naru and her dog versus the Predator. And it's freaking awesome. But yeah, Naru kills the Predator, brings the head home. She is hailed as the new war chief. And is saying, you know what, we need to move, because we're not safe here anymore. Because it's not even just the Predator. It's like the French settlers, the French colonizers are coming after them too. So it's like, we need to move. We need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, and she's immediately like, all right, time to move camp. And then, like I said, in the credits, they do a retelling of the entire movie, done in like a tapestry or art painting. I'm not sure exactly what type of painting it is, but it's a narrative painting that shows the story of Naru and the Predator, but it ends with 3 Predator ships coming down. We don't know whether it's to confront her or congratulate her.
Yeah, we don't know that because the movie just cuts up at that point. There have been talks. I mean, people have talked. Is this a sequel setup, or is this a reference, like you said, a reference to Predator 2? We know that there will be another Predator movie coming. Predator Badlands, which is in development with Elle Fanning starring in the movie. Same director as this movie.
Yeah. I mean, let's shout out to the director for a moment, because he has done other work I like. His name is Dan Trachtenberg. He did, I think the first thing of his I saw was 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was not originally meant to be a Cloverfield movie, and then got appropriated by J.J. Abrams into that film series, question mark. But anyway, it's a good movie. If you've not seen it, I do recommend it. It's more of a psychological horror. He directed the pilot episode for The Boys, which is a good episode. He also did a decent episode of Black Mirror. It's not one of the most well-remembered ones, but good episode. Supposedly he's supposed to do a episode, at least one episode in the final season of Stranger Things, but that hasn't come out yet.
And I will say that this Prey is only his second feature film.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much Badlands is supposed to connect to Prey.
I don't know.
I don't think it's supposed to connect to Prey other than just being another Predator movie.
Probably. I mean, it's going to be in a different location, different era.
Yeah. So
it might not connect at all, other than being in the Predator franchise. And as far as I'm aware, this will also be a Hulu exclusive movie.
So yeah, I don't really know what's going on with that, but I mean, I'll watch it.
I'll give it a chance.
But yeah, I really loved this film, and I loved Amber Midthunder in this film. She was so good in Legion, which I think might have been the first thing I saw her in. After this, she showed up in the live action Avatar Last Airbender series playing Princess Yue, and she's done really well on that. The thing about this movie was I liked how weirdly understated it was, if that makes sense.
How so?
It takes time to build. Like, the Predator is out there, but we're waiting for a while for him to strike. Like, we see him take down other things, You know, we watch him at one point take down a wolf and everything, and it really has nothing to do with what's going on with Naru and her group.
And
It's just reminding us that the predator is out there just casually taking down.
and you say it takes its time. It's really interesting that yes, it does take its time, but again, this is only like a 90-minute movie. So like this has a great pace. It doesn't slow too far down, it doesn't go too fast. It tells a lot in the time frame it has, and it tells a great story on top of that. So it's enough that it can be its own thing if you've never seen any of the Predator movies. But like you said, also having plenty of Easter eggs of the other Predator films. So, Kiki, let's ask the question, does Prey have the magic?
I mean, I think it's obvious that yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. This movie does have the merit. This is a really good movie. I feel bad for sleeping on this one for so long. If you have not seen this movie, it's on Hulu. If you have the Disney Plus Hulu bundle, it's on Disney Plus too. Give this movie a chance. This is awesome and a definite work. It's it's better than the last few installments of the Predator franchise, I must say. I would watch Prey 1,000 times before I watch Alien vs. Predator Requiem again.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
So let's move on. As Kiki said at the top of the show, next week will not be a show for the little ones. We are doing another R-rated movie. In the United States next week, it's going to be Election Day. And this has been a movie that I have wanted to do for so long. And it's finally time to do it. Idiocracy! If you know why we're doing it, then you're the kind of person I want listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
So come back next week for Idiocracy. Get your Brondo.
It's what plants crave.
Yep. Electrolytes. So come back next week for Idiocracy, and we will talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the magic stop here. Join our conversations on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic. We are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, at Rewatch the Magic. And new episodes are available every week at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com. Remember, the magic is for everyone. It only stops if you let it. Podcasts are fun.
But there's work to be done.
We encourage you to get involved. Here are some organizations we support.
The American Civil Liberties Union fights for the constitutional rights of all Americans. Find them at aclu.org.
The National Network of Abortion Funds helps people find access to safe abortion services. Their site is abortionfunds.org.
The Trevor Project provides a 24/7 crisis helpline for LGBTQ youth and education services for schools on LGBTQ issues. They can be found at thetrevorproject.org.
Or find a way to help in your area.